Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So today's video is very special because this is our first vlog style of video, right? So I would appreciate if you can give it a thumbs up. That would indicate to me that you would want me to continue shooting these type of vlog style videos. On today's video, I'm going to keep it crisp to the point and I'll keep it very raw without much editing. And I'm going to talk about effective communication. Now, many of you have asked me that, hey Akshat, you communicate well, so why don't you share some strategies with us that can make us good communicators? Because to grow in our corporate career or to get jobs, we need to communicate really effectively. So there are 5 specific tips that I would like to share with you. I have this in the notes format in front of me, so I'll read some things out. So first and foremost thing about being an effective communicator is that you need to understand the definition of effective communication. Now, many a times we imagine that, hey, you know what, in order to communicate effectively, we have to become the next Dr. Shashi Tharoor. No, completely wrong. We don't need to do that. All we need to do is that we need to discover our own style of speaking and try to ace that, right? To understand better, what do you mean by effective communication? You need to have that goal very clear in your mind. So effective communication, at least according to me, it means that if I am saying 10 points to you, and if you are able to understand 8 or 9 points, it means that I am an effective communicator. So please, right, type it out in the comment box. How many points do you generally understand when I say 10 points, right? It would be a fun exercise for me to read. I'm sure that I'll get many 0 answers as well. But yeah, it's a fun exercise that I would want to do with you. So that's one, right? If you are a bad communicator, the sign would be that, hey, you're saying 10 points and other people are only able to understand 6 or 7 points, right? So you need to work on your communication skills. That's one. Second point that you need to understand is that you need to understand that delivery of the content is more important than the content itself, right? So essentially what I'm saying here is that content is not the king. I'll repeat it, that content in the interviews or when you're communicating with someone, content is not the king, right? How you deliver it, that is more important. What we usually do is that when we get a job interview invite, what happens is our first reaction is, okay, let me go to the internet. Let me try to look at all the questions that have been asked in the past. Let me create a Excel spreadsheet or a Word document and let me start typing everything. I'll mug up everything and then I'll regurgitate that, or I will, just literally blast the interviewer with these memorized responses. It never works, right? So you might have heard that many a times people say that in the interview, you need to have a conversation, right? So you need to have a very conversation style of speaking, right? And you can't have it if you are in that rote learning mode, that I will just mug up my interview answers, speak it out and blurt it out in front of the interview and I'll ace the interview. It will not work, right? Please keep that in mind that it will not work. You need to have an effective communication with the interviewer. So how do you have an effective conversation with someone or the interviewer if you're in the interview setting? So how do you do that? So this is where tip 3, 4 and 5 comes into the picture. So tip number 3 is that whenever you are having a communication or a conversation with someone, try to keep that conversation from your end very brief and short, right? Let me demonstrate via giving you an example. On the interview, usually the first question is that, hey Akshat, tell me something about yourself, right? That is usually the first question that is generally asked everywhere. So this is a great conversation opener, right? So don't take 5 minutes answering this question. Literally respond to this type of questions in 1 minute or maximum 2 minutes. Follow the 2-minute rule, right? That is all I can say to you. If you are hitting that more than 2-minute mark on everything that comes out of your mouth for any question, it is a bad strategy, right? I train people to ace interviews at Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and BCG, Bain, McKinsey. So this is one of the key tips that I tell them, that in order to make your interview conversational style, try to ensure that whatever you are speaking, don't speak on a monologue for 1 to 2 minutes, right? Please keep that in mind. Super important, right? So how would you answer that? Tell me something about yourself. So I would say that, hey everyone, my name is Akshat Shrivastava. I am YouTubing these days, but before starting my career as a YouTuber, I used to be a management consultant. I worked at companies like BCG and Talbot. I graduated from INSEAD and I enjoyed my career in management consulting. It was fun. It was enticing. I learned a lot, right? I learned a lot about teaching people, coaching people. So I have always been a passionate trainer and a teacher. I enjoy doing that bit. I translated that into different businesses that I have run over time. And currently I run my own VC investing fund. So that is about me. Going forward, I see myself adding a lot of value to others by sharing my experiences, and that is what my goal in my professional career moving ahead would be. So I would say something like this, right? So I mean, that would be very informal, very conversation style. So that is how I would put it. Now you must have noticed that I kept the answer really short. So you need to keep your answers really short. That is one of the key tips that I can give you in terms of having a good conversation. Which brings us to point number 4, that hey, how else can I make the conversation more organized and structured and make the other person understand more, right? So the tip number 4 is that you must follow structures on the interview, right? So what is structured thinking versus what is unstructured thinking? Let me demonstrate by giving you a simple example. I've used this example in the past. I'll repeat it again. So usually when people just have a random chat, they jump from point A to point C to point E to point F and back to point A, right? So for example, let's say that I'm speaking about the problem of coronavirus, right? And if I say that, you know what, Akshat, can you tell me that, what is the situation of coronavirus in India? Now you would say that, coronavirus is like really bad. Government is not doing much. Everything is going bad. I had relatives who have suffered really badly and, I don't see this working out. So you are just jumping around, right? That is not the right way of talking about a problem or having a discussion on anything. You should have rather bucketed the argument. You should have said that, okay, I think the coronavirus problem in India is really exacerbating and there are many reasons why that is happening. The first reason is economic reason, that India is a very poor country, so we don't have a lot of resources. Number 2 reason why coronavirus is amping up in India is that because people do not follow social distancing. So there are certain socio-cultural norms. Third and final reason that I feel about coronavirus, why it's amping up in India, is that the governance structures have not been that great and government could have done more. So you saw that, I structured my argument. So it was easy. It would have been easy, I'm hoping. And if it was easy, do give it a thumbs up. So I'm hoping that by better structuring, you are able to follow the answer along, right? So I hope this point is clear, which brings me to 5th and final point, that what kind of structures you can use. So usually your interviews or whenever you are having conversations with someone, there are 2 different types of questions that are asked. One are called as experience-based questions. For example, they might ask you that, hey, can you talk about your leadership skill, leadership style? Can you talk about your strengths? Can you talk about weaknesses? What do you need to do here? You need to tell stories or examples from your life. For example, if someone asks me that, hey Akshat, can you talk about your greatest leadership achievement, right? So I will have to structure this story, right? So I would usually follow a SCAR approach, which is called as situation, challenge, action, and result, right? So I would say something like that my greatest leadership achievement was when I was in college and I started a non-profit organization. I feel that that was the greatest leadership achievement for me because I led a big team. So this is the situation, right? The challenge that I faced, challenge. So the challenge that I faced was that, hey, I was just like very young and I did not have a lot of experience in terms of starting a non-profit organization. So people did not take me seriously. And one of the key challenges that we faced was that we were trying to teach kids and try to teach students from underprivileged backgrounds at shelter homes in India. So people did not take me seriously. So then actions. So what did I do? So in order to build trust, what I did was that I initially created a team at the back end. So I recruited a lot of volunteers, I featured their profiles, I created a brochure. I also involved my college authorities into the process. I also sought validation from these different social influencers who tweeted and, sort of did like YouTube videos about our organization. Finally, I collated all this material and brought them to the shelter home authorities. And as a result, they allowed us to start the operation, right? Situation, challenge, action, and results, right? So this is a very clean, clear, easy to do framework. So let me know if you found this framework to be useful. This is the first question type that is usually asked. And the second question type is something called as forward-looking, right? So forward-looking things essentially means that, things like, why do you need this job? Oh, okay. And how would you be a great fit with this job? Okay. Why do you want to come to this MBA program? Where there are more organized, rational driven questions. So usually these things have not happened to you yet, right? You're planning to do these things. You're planning to do an MBA, or you're planning to do an MS, or you're planning to do that particular job, right? So here, make sure that you always bullet out your answers. Bullet out your answers in 2 to 3 buckets, right? And bullet out, don't give more than 3 bullets and don't give less than 2 bullets. So let's understand this from an example. So if the question is that, okay, hey, can you tell us, Akshat, why you would be a great fit with management consulting? So I would say something like that, okay. So I feel that I'll be a great fit with management consulting. Reason number 1 is that I'm someone who really enjoys intensive work. I like learning about different industries and functions. In the past, my internships have been in finance, public policy, consulting. I'm a CFA, so I have cleared 2 levels of CFA. I enjoy problem solving. So I think I would love this variety and I'll be a good fit. it. Number 2, I have international experiences. So both in my undergraduate and graduate programs, I have studied, lived abroad. So that will allow me to add a lot of value in a team setting. And third and finally, I'm someone who enjoys learning more about businesses. For example, if you take a look at my YouTube channel, you will see that I create a lot of case studies. So I enjoy learning about new businesses. So I think that I would be able to bring that value. So this is how I would structure the response on forward-looking things and backward-looking things. So just to quickly recap, 5 things that we discussed. What is the definition of effective communication? Understand it. Number 2, delivery is more important than the content. Content is not the king. Number 3, please take 1 to 2 minutes to outline your response because it makes your communication style more conversational. 4th, adopt structured thinking. And 5, figure out how to adopt forward-looking and backward-looking answers and answer those. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Would mean a lot, and I will see you tomorrow.